Working with influence B2B, not B2C. That is what we're going to hear about now. Working B2C influencers, that's pretty common, but B2B, that's a bit more unusual. I am very happy that Mariska Kesteloo has agreed to tell us about how to do that, the advantages of that. Mariska has been working in this field for a number of years, and I have come to appreciate her as a very thorough and very well prepared representative of her profession. So Mariska, I am particular looking very much forward to your presentation. Yours is the floor. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, Jan, to be part of your event, and thank you very much for the compliment. I think I will start now with sharing my share my screen. I hope this all works, the technique, because it's always we as speakers we miss the engagement with I would say of course with the audience. My name is Mariska Kesteloo, and I'm passionate about B2B influencer marketing. And today I'm going to guide you through, I would say, through the entire story, why influencer marketing, especially now in these challenging times, is more important than ever today. So first, I'm going to talk very briefly a little bit about my background, but today, of course, it's not about me. It's all about B2B influencer marketing. So what is actually B2B influencer marketing? Unfortunately, the perception that we have about influencers, the definition that we use, and how to set up actually a campaign, tips and tricks and tools that you need. And of course, I will give you some marketing yourself. And of course, also how to calculate the ROI. And at the end, I will hope, it depends a little bit, but I think I will cover around between 30 and 35 minutes. And then I will leave it open for Q&A if you have any questions. So a little bit, I would say a little bit about me. So this is actually a picture. It could have been me, but I couldn't find, due to my several movements around the world, I couldn't find any picture of myself. But it's actually the region where I grew up, and this is the costume that my grandmother wore until the end, until the day that she died. So I grew up in the southwest of the Netherlands, and already as a little girl, I knew that I wanted to explore the world, and which I did. So I studied tourism, lived in more than 10 different countries, and actually ended up in the world of meetings and events. Some people perhaps are familiar with me or know my name. I've been also involved in MPI, Meetings Professionals International, where I was involved in Belgium 2 years as the president. And since 2016, I started my company, Word of Mice, which I worked on full-time since 2017. I love Simon Sinek because I think now, especially in these times, people buy what you do and they want to know also why you do it. And therefore, I want to give you a little bit of background information about my company. Working as a freelance event planner, I went to fairs like IBTM or IMEX or other trade shows. And often I came at the booth of a hotel or a destination, and I asked them, why should I organize an event in your hotel or destination? And so many times I got the answer from, yeah, because we are a 4-star property, we have 10,000 square meeting rooms, and we have 400 bedrooms. That doesn't answer my question. I want to know, why should I organize an event in your hotel or your destination? Give me some examples. Give me also, what kind of audience do you want to have? And I was actually surprised that in our industry, where we work in a $1 trillion industry, that we don't spend so much, I would say, spend so much marketing budget actually on showing what we do. And therefore, working in the travel industry, where I saw the upcoming trend of travel influencers, bloggers, working around the world by showing the beautiful properties, the beautiful destinations. And I thought, we can do, I'm not saying we can do that as well, but why don't we use people with knowledge, people with relevant working experience in our industry to show or to tell a story about a destination or about a hotel? Because if we organize an event, for example, I just mentioned a destination in Malaga in Spain, we cannot find all the information on TripAdvisor. If we say we look for a destination where our four-star properties, we look for a capacity of 1,000 of 2,000 people. We want to have flights from 10 different cities in Europe, and it's a technical conference, and we're looking for technical speakers, and we want to do a site visit to a local company who's specialized in technology. This doesn't exist. We don't have a TripAdvisor. We don't have a booking.com in our industry, which can cover all the different topics. So therefore, the experience which is there in our industry and who knows about the insights about the destination and which destination you can organize the best technological event is there, but it's not shared. So therefore, these experience, these stories that amongst in our large community of event professionals and meeting professional exist need to be shared. So that's actually what I did, because I believe that one little person, so one little mouse, can create a huge impact. So therefore, one mouse, several mouses, mice, the meetings, incentives, conference, and events can create a huge impact. And therefore, I started in 2016 with Word of Mice. We talk about influencer marketing, but what is it exactly? And a lot of people think that if I talk about influencer marketing, first of all, they think about the young and fashion influencers, the beauty influencers. Actually, B2B influencer marketing is a long-term strategic decision, and it is not something that stands on its own. It's actually related with all your other marketing activities, related with your PR, of course, with your event, with your online and offline events. So if you choose to work with influencer marketing, it's a long-term decision aligned with all your other marketing activities. And if you would say it's simple, because I created my own definition as a simple to the point Dutch lady, I would say remain top of mind at your desired target audience. So that is actually what B2B influencer marketing is, but done by experts who have relevant working experience in your industry. What is B2B influencer marketing? Of course, what more? It's all about engagement. You want to build up a relationship with your followers. You want to create trust to help to drive the business outcomes. And business outcomes, it's not always related only with sales. Of course, especially in these times where we are today, we cannot sell a destination because we can't travel, or sometimes we are restricted in our travel, in I would say in our travel possibilities. So, but we want to stay top of mind. We want to keep our destinations, our hotels top of mind at our target audience. So therefore, influencer marketing is helping to create building a relationship with your audience and followers and to drive business outcomes. I know today there have been several talks about influencer marketing, and one of the challenges that we have in the world of B2B influencer marketing is, unfortunately, there is a negative perception of influencers in general. And also the majority of the people don't know there is actually a difference between B2B and B2C influencers. If I would explain it very simple, is the B2C influencer is mostly, not always, but most on the amount of followers that they have, because bigger reach, because the consumers decide what to buy. In a world, in a B2B environment, we're not always in touch with the end decision maker, and the lead time is actually much longer. So if we do decide to go for an event, or even in an in another industry, we go to people, we go to peers or colleagues who have knowledge about the product or about the service before we decide to buy. So the lead time, first of all, is much longer, but also the expertise and the knowledge is a reason to work with people. We look less to the amount of followers, but we look first to the relevant working experience in the field. And the last item is that also the impact and the possibilities are quite unknown, which is actually, I would say, a bit of a shame, because we need influencers more than ever today. And I will come back to the impact and possibilities much later on. So why am I so passionate about influencer marketing? Because first of all, it has a lot of advantages. And what are those advantages today? First of all, it's tailor-made. So every campaign is different. So a campaign what would work, for example, for Malaga wouldn't work for my home country, for example, for the Netherlands. It's very simple, because every campaign is connected and related with your strategy, and of course connected and related with your target audiences. So the needs of every, as a destination or hotel is different. But because you work with influencers who know the industry, who know their audience of followers, you can really create your own campaign adapted towards your needs. And the second is, of course, you can adapt it to your target audience. For example, you're looking for a very specific audience for technical event planners, for example, from the Netherlands, from the region of Amsterdam. You can really focus on that audience by searching for the right person who's based in Amsterdam and who has that right audience. But also for destinations who are listening today, for example, if you would open a new hotel, or you're looking, for example, for a destination or and where you're not so familiar with, you want to open a new market, it would be ideal to work with someone, an influencer who's based in that country or based in that area or city where you are going to open a new hotel, or even a new airline that is coming towards the destination. So there are many possibilities to work with influencers on a hotel level, destination, or any other provider within the meetings and events industry. And the third, of course, is the data. Today, we're more online, I would say, than ever. So we want to know what is driving our audiences. What do they read when they are online? When is the right moment to post? And because this has been a major shift, I would say, especially in this year. So therefore, you want to have connected with your influencers, because they know their audience of followers. They know which time they're online. They know what the interest is, and they know, of course, also what's working. But these valuable data is now more important than ever. And by doing these campaigns, you gain already more insights than you would have them before starting with the campaign. And I think I mentioned this already a couple of times, why influencers are actually now more important than ever. We are more online. I mean, I would not have imagined to be part of this event actually today. I would also, to be honest, prefer to see all your faces and to connect with the audience and feel, I would say, also the excitement to be on stage. So therefore, we need to shift. We need to think differently, because our audiences are now more than ever online. So therefore, use also the opportunity to connect with your influencers. I mentioned already a couple of times influencers, but influencers have, I would say, personally, I have a hate-love relationship with influencers. Because if we talk about influencers, yeah, we all think about the young fashion influencers, but we're all influencers. Everyone who's listening here today are influencers. It just depends what kind of a people do you need for your upcoming campaign. You have people, for example, you could use event speakers or famous people in your industry who have spoken in your hotel or have contributed towards your event in the past. You could connect them, because perhaps they're also out of work today, and they would also contribute towards your product or service today. So there are different types of influencers that you could use to, I would say, to spread the word without using a big budget. And one of the most important people that a lot of my clients forget are your employees, because your employees are also active online. They also watch webinars. They also have their own Facebook accounts, their own LinkedIn accounts. For example, with one of the clients, what we have done in the past is we created not only videos for the target audience, but also a video for the people inside the company to say, okay, we are launching a campaign. If you see this lady or you see this man walking around in one of your properties, know that we are filming, and they're going also backstage, so don't follow them. They're doing everything according to rules. So also inform your partners, inform your clients, inform your speakers, everyone who has been involved in your product or service or your company destination in the past. Please involve them, because how more people are aware of this campaign, how more you're able to spread the word. And the last one I want to explain, which is industry call. Call stands for key opinion leader, and key opinion leader is often used in China, where they're, I would say, 3 steps ahead in Europe related with influencer marketing. Well, how do you select the right influencer? I sometimes say it's like a dating agency. You also want to have a person who reflects your values, who reflects your um, but also who is a personality that can, I would say, match with the company. So it's not just picking at random someone who has the most, I would say, the most followers on LinkedIn. No, please pick a person who has relevant working experience, can align with your goals, but also align with your values. Influencer marketing is not rocket science. Everyone here listening today can actually set up a campaign. Just it's a very time consuming process, because it's not just with one click on a button that we use automatic platform to find the influencers. In a B2B environment, this works very differently. We have to do, let's say, more manual work to find the right people and to also to approach. You cannot just send a standard email. So really, so the preparation and to get the maximum involvement of the influencer, the time to prepare, please, well, in general, I would say, before COVID, we counted 2 to 3 months to prepare the campaign. Now we tend to work a little bit quicker because we need to adapt very quickly towards the current circumstances. But please take your time to prepare and to find the right person, because especially in these days, you don't want to harm your, I would say, your reputation, or you don't, I would say, to find the right tone of voice together with the influencer, that requires time. So please take that time that you need to prepare the campaign. And also, I would say, the execution time, so the time that we run the campaigns, don't think we do that for a month or for 3 months. We usually, especially in these times, we require to at least to do a campaign for 6 months, or preferably even to a year, because we don't know where our industry will stand in 2 months or 4 months or 6 months time. So therefore, and that trust today, because we do business because we trust each other, especially in a B2B environment. So therefore, it's important to think very long term and to set up a campaign for at least 6 months, but preferably or recommendedly for a year. So how do you create a successful campaign? Some of the items I've already mentioned. So first of all, and I think the most important step is the analysis. So please set up a proper campaign and write out what you would like to get out of the campaign. What is your target audience? What are the channels? And also, of course, the time frame. But also very important, because a lot of people think that as soon as they start with the influencer campaign, that magic will happen, especially in these times. You have to think a little bit, I would say, a little bit longer but please send what would you like to get out of the campaign? Is it just about engagement? Is it about visibility? Or are you, in these times, are you opening a new hotel? So be very specific on what you would like to get out of the campaign. And then scouting and selection, which is also, of course, a very important step, is screening the right people for your campaign. And you can, I would say, they can also be speakers, they can also be thought leaders, this can also be, of course, the social media, I would say, content creators. But please write also the profiles, and how more specific you are, how better your briefing is to send out to the influencers, how more response you are you're getting back. And the way how we work is actually, so we send out the briefing towards the influencers, and then we give them the time to write a strategic proposal. And why is that? Because they know their audience of followers much more than we do. They know what's working, and they also come with creative ideas. Because we work with them because they're experts. It's like going to a dentist. You're also not going to ask your neighbor to, I say, to get your teeth out, or so see the influencers as experts. And besides writing strategic, give advice towards your social media team. They can support you also on different levels. So it's not just, I would say, a robot you can dictate what to do. Now, please leverage, I would say, the knowledge of the influencer that you're getting involved with. So as soon as we have received the proposal, it's up to the client to decide with who they're going to work with. And if they made a decision, then we're going to sit and then we're going to put out the planning. In the normal world, we would do around, I would say, 20-80. So 80% of the campaign is online and 20% is offline, because we think it's important that also the influencer really has a face and also has a moment to get in touch with their audiences. And then, of course, we start with the campaign. Number 5, we start with the campaign, we start promoting. And of course, we keep in touch on a regular basis, sometimes on a weekly basis with our influencers, especially now when there are major changes coming up, especially on safety. Destinations are opening, some destinations are closing again. So therefore, it's very important to be on top of the content planning, on top of the planning. What's going on? Do we need to adapt? Can we continue next week with the planning ahead? And also something which is a question which I frequently receive is, often people think that an influencer just posts what they want to post. No, the content, if you are the client, of course, the content will be reviewed. But think it also a point of view from the influencer. They would never write or harm their audience of followers, because their reputation is also, it will also mean the end of their career, the end of their reputation. So they would not do anything to harm your reputation. And as if you made a good selection, they would never do. So please be aware which kind of people you select to work with. And as a client, if you have a video or a blog post or another important piece of content, the client can always review it before it will go online. And of course, then we have the reporting. So we always write a report halfway the campaign, and of course at the end of the campaign, to see have we reached our goals. Important input from the influencer, tips, advice for the upcoming strategy. But what we usually see is that the campaigns are extended because they're very happy with the provided content that the influencer has done. Another thing is that if we think of influencers, we think usually about blog posts, or I would say a tweet or a post on Instagram. But actually, an influencer can do much more. And I think I really want to highlight that today, because we work in a world where we need trust. And we live in a very insecure, very dynamic world. And we do business because we trust each other. So also think a step further. What can an influencer do to leverage support that a convention bureau can deliver? So What about actually your own podcast channel where you interview people from hotels, people from restaurants or convention bureaus, what they actually all do to make it a guest as safe as possible, or um, or to do like, for example, a webinar, or I mean, or to show, I would say, the entire journey from if you arrive at the airport, is it really safe, and going to the convention center, how is that journey going? So there's so many ways, I would say, to show your story, to show your values, but think also, I would say, a step further. And something that I mentioned already is, why don't you ask influencers also to get involved in your offline events, to share their advice, to share their journey, for example, if they have been towards your in your destination or in your hotel. Now I would like to share some examples. I explicit mentioned that I will do it before COVID and after COVID, because there are some examples. Of course, we also needed to change and it needed to pivot. The first example is outside of our industry, but I just want to mention how two large companies created a campaign which is not focusing neither on sales, um, I would say neither on gaining directly revenue, and then a few other examples from destinations that has been done that you can use within your influencer marketing campaign. So the first example is from National Geographic and Microsoft. So Microsoft said we have a lack of women in, I would say, a lack of women normally already working for Microsoft, but the gap will become only bigger and bigger. So we need people not only, let's say, to recruit more women, but also we need more women encouraging to study in the sector science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But how can we encourage women, but also young girls, to choose for those studies? So they approached National Geographic and asked them to make pictures of women working in these different professions all around the world, and to launch this campaign on International Women's Day. Of course, these two large companies work together with beautiful pictures that are taken from National Geographic. Um, you can, of course, imagine the boost that it will give. But the most important thing is it was not only, I say, creating a big boost on social media, but also Microsoft asked some of the women who were photographed to share their stories and to tell them what they're doing in their profession on a daily basis, to encourage, to show there is much more out there um, than or say a boring study, that there are fantastic jobs that you can do if you have chosen one of the directions within science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Um, and it was actually, of course, it was a major success. But this campaign again was not focusing on business result, was not focusing on revenue, and so this is actually, I think, and therefore I want to share this example is to create awareness for also on a long term, to encourage people to say to do something different. And of course these are the data and the outcomes. Yeah, of course, if you launch such a campaign with two fantastic companies, the results are there. And then I want to share other examples which are, I would say, not really directly related with influencer marketing, but these are interesting tips and content that you can do, I would say, also with a tiny budget as a destination or hotel. For example, Amsterdam launched also virtual tours. So you could visit the destination and following one of the locals or international people who have visited Amsterdam. So I think this is a very beautiful way to continue your story about your destination and to remain top of mind. And also one of the examples I found really inspiring was from the Faroe Islands. They've done already quite some. IMEX Frankfurt, one of the largest trade shows for our industry, was cancelled due to COVID-19. So they said, well, we've all blocked the time to travel to Frankfurt. Why don't we block the time slots during those days of IMEX while everybody's at home, but where you can book virtual site inspections. So where you can book venues, where you can book appointments with BMCs to actually and to show, to I would say, to get familiar with the destination, but also to get familiar with all the possibilities that we have. And that's actually what they did. So they launched also an introduction video. We will be your ears, eyes, and body. And then you could block one of the time slots. I found it I would say, a very simple way, but how you can leverage with, I would say, with the tools that you have and with the possibilities and within the restrictions that we're living today, still remain top of mind. And another funny example, in the beginning, I heard a lot of people were also doing pub quizzes, which is quite popular in the Netherlands, but also all around the world, but connected with the museum. So the museum launched their own pub quiz, which you could download for free. It is actually an interesting way to still get to be familiar with your brand or product, and actually to launch such an idea. So these are all simple ideas we can all implement, I would say, from tomorrow on, and still gain to say, okay, we're here to help you. I hope we can welcome you soon back in our destination hotel or even in our museum. And one of the other important items, which is actually a bit of a more boring item, but a huge important one, is of course the cancellations, cancellation fees. There are a lot of events that have been postponed, have been cancelled. And Monaco Convention Bureau was one of the first already to announce. They said, we have adapted our cancellation policies. So these are very important items why event planners and meeting professionals will choose or will not to choose for your destination or venue. So they announced it on Twitter actually, but of course there are many. These are also fantastic ingredients where you can, I would say, in a funny way, which you could launch together with the influencer and talking about this topic and regaining the trust to organize an event in your destination or venue. And then the 10 goals of influencer marketing, I already mentioned it. A lot of people think it's only about sales, sales, sales. Improved sales conversion is actually at number 5. So it means that a lot of people work with influencers to, I would say, to have other purposes, to reach out to new target audience or to improve their brand awarenesses. So some suggestions, because a lot of people said, yeah, but I would like to have some ideas, some suggestions that influencers can do. Well, first of all, content is key, and that will remain. Your message is, of course, more important than ever. But also another item is humor works. And why was the ice bucket challenge so, I would say, so popular? First of all, because it was connected and involved with a good cause. The idea was very simple to copy. So we had the ice bucket challenge, so we converted to the mice industry mice bucket or mice challenge. No one ever has done such a campaign, and I think now the time is right more than ever because people are willing to support each other. So if you could involve a good cause. And also, what do we need now? I just mentioned already cancellation policies or podcasts. Replace yourself in your target audience and use your common sense. So what do event professionals or meeting professionals need today to make the decision to go abroad with a group or to go abroad with a company? What makes them to sign that contract or what makes them to make that decision? And also another point, don't forget your employees. Like I mentioned before, these are also your ambassadors. These are also your influencers. If you're very tight on a budget, think of using your employees and let them spread the word. And also what I really want to focus on is focus on the quality and not on the quantity of your numbers. If you have a fantastic campaign, it will be spread over. So please focus on the quality of your followers and not on the quantity. So something which is also really important is the ROI. So how do we measure actually the return on investment of an influencer marketing campaign? There is no push on a button, I would say, platform that we can say, okay, this is exactly the outcome, because first of all, the lead time is quite long. So it might even that the campaign already has finished and then that the bookings will come in. So we need to have different metrics to really measure the outcome of the campaign. So first of all, which is important, the value of the content. So which means that some influencers create a huge amount of blogs or vlogs, and they still will be around. So we've seen also that sometimes after 3 or 4 years or even longer, that sometimes the content is being read by your audience. So please, I'm saying from if you are focusing on the campaign, don't think, okay, that the content that is created by the influencer is also will still be around after the campaign is finished. And of course, that content you can reuse as a press release, or you can reuse it to send out to journalists in a magazine. So you can reuse the content, and especially if content that is written, I would say, and we call it undated. I'm not saying undated content, but if you can reuse that content, for example, after a year again. Of course, you can do the simple metrics, of course, engagements and comments, and of course, measuring your Google Analytics and the data of the influencers. But you can also use special codes to are coming from, and or perhaps a special code. I'm not saying the book now, because that's a bit of, I would say, not an appropriate promotion, but you can still use a special code, or perhaps you can send something from your destination towards the influencer at home, or to still have the feeling or a relationship with the destination. So there are special ways to still build up that connection with your audience. And then the last one, I think it's important, I would say, important to mention is we call it dark social, which is content, I would say, metrics that we cannot measure. Despite we live in a data-driven world, there is still data we cannot measure. For example, I would say top CEOs might not be every day on Twitter. Perhaps they post, but I'm not saying that we also read everything what is published. But if your campaign is really great, then it's been picked up by your managers and saying, hey, this destination has a great campaign. We're seeing that's working really well. So therefore, I want to say is, despite that you cannot say that person is not online or has written the tweet, doesn't mean they're not aware of your campaign. Also, for example, influencers that are attending a conference or attending an event and will get feedback, hey, I saw your post, but it doesn't mean always that they will like or comment on the post, but they sometimes prefer to do that offline. So always keep in account that all the data that you cannot always 100% track of the data of an influencer campaign. And I want to close my presentation today actually with a question, and I hope we all think about, especially in these, I would say, in these challenging times, because it is very difficult to set up a long-term strategy. Where are we going? Will there be a second peak or not? Can we travel again next year to all destinations in the world without any restrictions? So we live in a very uncertain world, and I think we are more aware in our industry than ever. So I just want to share you this question, and I hope you will think about it. Is which story do you want to share to remain top of mind in these challenging times? So I will go now over to the questions. I saw already popping up in the chat a few questions, but first,
Mariska,
yes.
I have to interrupt. We are running over time.
Oh, okay. No time for questions?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I would have loved to have questions with you, Q&A. This is highly interesting. This is really what a lot of our audience will need to do, but you will be on the platform, you'll be on the Expo in the next
Yes.
couple of days. So unfortunately, we are running out of time.
Sorry.
But people can, and that's what's happened. People can reach out to you, you're available. And I think this is highly necessary, highly interesting. But unfortunately, we have to stop now. We have the next event coming up. Thank you so much, Mariska.
Thank you so much, Jan, and talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.